What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Wednesday, March 27th. Okay, guys, so Palantir stock here today is up 38 cents a share, plus 1.55% in regular trading hours, essentially flat here in the after hours. Let's take a look. Let's do our best here today to try to pull out as much bias as possible. We got a big push here late morning on Palantir today. And our goal is always to look at as many factors as possible to pull out as much bias that the market gave us as possible, try to anticipate where additional volume will come in from traders, and then take a look at the options bias and the expected move. While you're listening, be sure to comment your vote for tomorrow's wildcard stock. Just comment the ticker. Whichever ticker gets the most votes, I will cover tomorrow. All right, let's get started here by doing a volume profile analysis to try to pull out some bias out of specifically this move. I'm mostly interested in that move and then a little bit interested in that fade that we saw into the close. So if we take a look, it was really interesting. We got pops on the green volume, and then on the little pullback candles, the candles themselves were actually very small, right? They were essentially dojis, these little red ones here, okay? We would see the volume fade, which is not unexpected. Now, in the traditional sense, you guys know I like to see like 3, 4, maybe 5 consecutive candles, green or red, that are out of context. Now, I mean, listen, realistically, all of this volume is out of context compared to what we would typically expect that time of day, which would usually kind of chop down here, right? And if we look here, it's not the traditional consecutive green bars, but we are getting quite a few green bars popping upside with just a couple of red bars mixed in. If we peel back that layer of the onion and look at the volume profile separate from the move itself, because the move itself obviously, seemingly had bullish bias, but the price or the volume profile doesn't always tell the same story. In this case, we did see a little bit, at least in my opinion, a little bit of bullish bias. It's not overwhelming though, in the volume profile on that move. Now, interestingly, into the close, in terms of the size of the volume, right, we didn't see tremendous size, but what we did see was, 9 consecutive red bars? I think it would be, a little bit biased to say that we didn't also see just a tad of perhaps slightly out of context due to the sheer amount of consecutive bars, just a tad of bearish bias in the volume profile, again, separate from the move itself. Now, interestingly, we saw a huge amount of volume. Normally, we expect to see this after the bell, right? Which we did see, likely the rebalancing volume that is very typical on stocks like Palantir, especially the big blue chip names. But we got that a little early today while the market was still open. Again, I do expect that is some rebalancing going on, considering it was essentially what a lot of people would describe as kind of a reversal candle, a dragonfly doji. But it was on a lot of volume, and I think that was very likely a lot of rebalancing going on, perhaps just early before the bell. So let's move on here now to the 30-minute chart and take a look at the self-fulfilling prophecy psychological levels that I'm watching here tomorrow. Now, actually, you know what it was yesterday? We took a look at this name, and we saw a little bit of a sloppy hold of that 50. We broke and held it, but it was a little bit sloppy. Now, today, I'm very happy to see this. We got another test of that 50 period here on the 30-minute, and look at this, guys. A little bit of fading volume on the retest. Boom, test. Above average volume on the very aggressive pull away. That's kind of what I mean when I say that on these videos, like basically every day. Now, ideally, I would like to see a repeat of that tomorrow from a bullish perspective. We did drag up that 50 period high, staying with the stock, at least now after we pulled back into the close. That's a good thing to see, bulls. We're going to want to stay above that 50 period, and any retest, a similar, deal to this would be beautiful. Bears, you guys are looking for a high volume downside break through the 50 period to open up a potential test of the 200 period here on the 30-minute chart. All right, the 4-hour, you can see here that yesterday we claimed that 50 period on the 4-hour. We got to reclaim a retest and a hold. That was nice, but we held that move today without really a true retest. That's fine. But aside from just holding the 50 period from a bullish perspective here heading into tomorrow, Wednesday, my primary objective here from that bullish perspective is to start yanking this 50 period, curling it back upside You know, it's been on kind of this descending trend the last couple of weeks. I want to see this start to curl back upside so that it can hang with the stock if the stock decides to continue higher. That's what you would want to see as a bull. As a bear, having this thing still flatten out, you know, that's going to give bulls, understand, that's going to give a lot of bears some ideas, right? They're going to say, wow, look at this thing hovering above there. It's probably going to come down for a retest of that because the 4 hour is such a popular chart. You know that's going through some bears' heads. It's about a 2.2% downside move away. So ideally, I'd like to see that 50 period just start curling back upside. Not expecting any crazy moves here, though, because the 4 hour is a slower moving chart. Now, the daily chart. This one's the most contextual, and I think the most important. What's the story here tomorrow? Well, listen, two things. We recently held $24 a share, and we've now bounced off the last couple of days. That's great to see. We're struggling to retake not only 25.50, which is a technical level, a very obvious technical level. Looking back, you know, you look back to this region, very obvious, that 25.50. But ahead of that, we're also struggling to reclaim that psychological level of 25. Listen, tomorrow's the battle of 25. Bears, for you guys, it's easy. Reject 25, open up an opportunity to head back down toward 24. Bulls, it's a little bit more complicated, but here's the deal. I want to reclaim 25, get comfortable above 25. Look to utilize 25 to make a push up through that technical, now psychological level of 25.50. Above 25.50 starts to open up a little bit more of an open sky setup, at least to that high, that recent high of 27.50. Now, let's take a look and see what we can pull out of the options chain. So here, the next expiration is March 28th. That's Thursday at the close. The expected move by then is plus or minus 77 cents per share. So the market's basically saying that they expect Palantir stock by close on Thursday to be anywhere between, or more so, somewhere around as high as like 25.66 or 65 or so, or as low as like 24.12. Okay, that's the market's expectation of volatility. Now, we don't have earnings or anything the next couple of days, so if you cut that in half, assuming, you know, just equal volatility both days, which, of course, if you think about it, would require 2 consecutive green days or 2 consecutive red days. Well, now you're looking at like 38 cents plus or minus per day. But the more likely scenario usually is that you have a mix of days, you know, and the market prices that in. So you start to get an expectation of a little higher than just dividing the expectation by Thursday's close by 2. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you end up having a red day and a green day, then each day is going to have more volatility to get to that expected move. But listen, it's all just an expected move. It's all just the market's expectation of volatility. So if you couple that with the analysis that we've done, as well as the options bias, which we'll get to here in a second, you start to have a really good understanding of what the market's expectations are and where the market is likely to see an influx of volume and where the bias is and what the market's telling us in terms of bias. And it makes you a much, much better trader in the end. Okay, it's really important to like pay attention to all this stuff, seriously. I mean, I don't mean to be harsh, but like you want to be a trader or not, you know what I mean? Like, so we had 308,000 total contracts traded here today on Palantir. 208,500 of those were calls. 99,700 approximately were puts. Very typical of Palantir as of late, a heavy call side bias. But look at this. In the short term, it's much less so. It's actually very undecided out of the short term speculators, that 0 to 20 delta range. 46,100 calls, 45,200 puts. Very undecided in the short term, but on the overall, which considers the midterm and longer term expirations on average, that has a heavy call side bias. Listen, if you got value out of that video, please subscribe to the channel. Palantir is one of my favorite stocks. I will say it. It's one of my favorite companies of all time. I've loved this company for years. I've been a fan. I mean, really, since IPO, I've been a fan. So I'll be covering it a lot here on the channel. Please subscribe. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.